When you're staring at a wall of speaker specs and a mountain of receiver options, the first thing that makes you pause is the fear of spending a lot of money on something that ends up sounding good on paper but falls flat in the living room. I've spent the last few weeks actually wiring up a Klipsch reference Premier RP8060 FAI i5.1.2 system and pairing it with an Onkyo TXNR6100 THX Certified AV receiver, and I'm going to walk you through what that process felt like, what the day-to-day use looks like, and how the value really measures up once you're past the hype. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most buyers have with a Klipsch kit is the claim of bigger horn, better sound. That phrase sounds great until you realize you have to fit those oversized floor-standing speakers into a typical suburban living room. The RP8060 FAI models are finished in walnut, which gives them a premium look, but the cabinets are deep enough to sit right against a wall and still leave a little breathing room for the rear-firing drivers. In my case, I had a 12-foot wall with a modest TV mount, and I was able to tuck the left and right speakers just shy of the corners. The real trick was the height-adjustable front-firing tweeter. I had to angle it slightly upward because my couch sits a bit lower than the speaker's listening line. That tweak alone made a noticeable difference in clarity during a movie's high-frequency passages. The Onkyo TXNR6100 is the kind of receiver that promises THX Select Certification, which essentially means the manufacturer has met a set of performance thresholds for channel balance, distortion, and dynamic range. In practice, the receiver's network features are where it shines. Built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth let you stream from Spotify, Apple Music, or a Plex server without reaching for a separate dongle. The remote is straightforward, and the on-screen menu walks you through speaker calibration with a microphone you can place at your primary listening spot. I ran the automatic setup and then fine-tuned the distances manually after noticing the dialogue in a dialogue-heavy drama lagging a fraction behind the on-screen action. The ability to tweak each speaker's delay in the Onkyo menu saved me from recabling or moving the speakers around. Now, let's talk about how the system performs in everyday use. The Cerametallic woofers in the Klipsch cabinets are a newer take on their classic aluminum cones, and they deliver a punchier low end without the metallic edge that some older Klipsch users complain about. When I played a bass-heavy track like Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, the 8-inch drivers filled the room with a solid, rhythmic thump that you could feel in the floorboards, yet the bass stayed controlled enough that it didn't smear the mids. In a movie scenario, think Mad Max, Fury Road, the explosions and engine roars were immersive, and the LTS titanium diaphragm tweeters kept the high-frequency details from becoming shrill. The 2.2 and the 5.1.2 label means you have two height speakers for Dolby Atmos. I placed those on top of the front left and right speakers, angled them toward the ceiling. The result was subtle enough for everyday TV shows that you didn't notice the extra dimension, but when a rainstorm scene hit, the overhead drops added an extra layer of realism that made the couch feel like a tiny cinema. If you're the kind of viewer who watches a lot of sports, you'll appreciate how the Onkyo's 7.2-channel processing keeps the surround speakers anchored even when you have a fast-moving crowd shot. I tried a live football broadcast, and the ambient crowd noise came from the rear surrounds, while the commentator stayed crisp in the front center. The system didn't need a separate subwoofer because the Cerametallic woofers handled the low-end demands, which saves space and cable clutter. However, if you're a bass enthusiast who expects the floor-shaking rumble of a dedicated sub, you might find the integrated bass a bit shy compared to a separate 12-inch subwoofer. Adding one later is possible, but you'll have to reconfigure the Onkyo's crossover settings, which can be a little confusing for someone new to AV calibration. Who should walk away with this bundle? First, anyone who already has a decent TV or projector and wants a step up in audio without diving into a fully custom surround setup. The combination of Klipsch's larger horn design and Onkyo's networked receiver makes a strong case for a plug-and-play-ish experience that still leaves room for tinkering. If you're a cinephile who enjoys Atmos content on services like Netflix or Disney+, the height speakers will give you that extra sense of immersion without needing a ceiling-mounted array. Also, the walnut finish blends nicely with mid-century modern or traditional decor, so it's a good aesthetic match for living rooms that care about looks as much as sound. On the flip side, if you live in a very small apartment where floor-standing speakers would dominate the space,